Do you know there was life before computers and the internet? It was pretty good, believe me. I'm sure your parents have told you that. You know, you had to actually go to a bookshop to buy books. Music came on cassettes. You went to movie theaters to actually see a movie. And programs like the Grammy Awards was aired about 5 months after the fact. But at the end of it, it was really worth the wait. My exposure to arts and culture started earlier on. I used to paint and draw as a kid. I was actually quite bad. But I did frequent visits to the National Center of Performing Arts, to the Jahangir Art Gallery, and I think it sparked something in me. I think probably they say that was the early stages of me having the culture bug. I also grew up in Bombay as what they call as a Lego child. I used to build these houses, as my daughter builds now, out of Lego, these tall, huge, obnoxious houses, and everybody in my house said, including my mother, that you're going to be an architect. So I said, sure, I'll be an architect. It sounds cool enough. But nepotism took over, and I followed in my father's footsteps, and I joined the intriguing world of advertising. Seeking to channelize my creative energies more, I joined the Advertising Club of Bombay, where I was one of the youngest to ever attend. I would attend presentations of leading creative directors from all over the world, where they would present ads and commercials, and would also tell us all about their experiences. These opened a whole new world of ideas for me. And I thought, wow, that's cool, until a client of mine actually came up to me one day because he knew about my passion and my flair for advertising. He told me, you belong on Madison Avenue. Me? Madison Avenue, the mecca of advertising? I thought about it. Now you got to remember, this was circa 1991. We had no Google, we had no Mad Men, so I had to figure out how to get there. I plotted my way to Boston, to New York, but I started with doing my graduate school applications. I needed a scholarship, which was imperative to support this, at that point of time, renegade idea. I chose schools based on the proximity to New York City and the amount of financial aid I would get. And I parted my journey from Bombay to Boston to New York. I finally reached New York City, the Big Apple, and I was like a kid in the candy store. I was overcome with joy, with feelings I can't even explain. A city so nice, they named it twice. I was like this walking cliche. My friends used to joke, they called me a New Yorker wannabe because, you know, I had Banana Republic clothes, I used to rollerblade, I had IKEA furniture. And, you know, as one of the greatest New York legends, Frank Sinatra used to sing, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York. You may know that song. And I had actually used that line on my website I had created in 1997 to apply for jobs on Madison Avenue. And when I used to send anyone that link, I used to get a call back, and they say, Asad, can you fax us your resume? And we'll leave you an answer on your answering machine when we get it. Because they didn't want to download a resume at that point of time. I made New York my home with no plan to return. From the lights of Broadway to the museum miles that stretched for miles and miles, from public art to performance art, there was art everywhere. I was consumed by it. I wanted more, and like every young New Yorker, I was also broke. I had to find ways to take in the arts and culture of New York. We did that by joining theater clubs where you got access to cheap tickets. We went to free concerts. I even ushered a Broadway show so I could get in for free. My access to South Asian art when I first reached New York was kind of limited, and I think it was only after Meera Nair's Monsoon Wedding where I kind of got exposed to a surge of the Indian arts and culture and art galleries sprouting out in New York, and I kind of connected with my roots through these diasporic events. To gain more access, I actually started volunteering with the Indo-American Arts Council. I soon started to understand, and it was then I actually got a better understanding of Indian art and culture and kind of uncovered a sense of myself in the bargain. And I firmed up a sense of myself and my identity. Years went by, and it was 2010, a conscious but very unplanned decision brought me back to Bombay. Bombay was Mumbai, a city I hardly recognized. Now we had a sea link, which we didn't have before. The name had changed, the city had changed, the skyline had changed, the people had changed. I found it very hard to assimilate, but I was adamant I'm going to kind of crack the city. I started decoding it, and as I was learning about the city, I was discovering things about myself. Professionally, I fell into the arts and culture by mistake, I guess. Was it serendipity? Was it a divine intervention? Was it kismet? Was it fate? I don't know. I had the opportunity to work on a small continuing ed platform, and I started curating programs and workshops around this, looking at the arts, literature, innovation. And it was something not really thought through. I was doing it, I was having fun, and it started to grow by automatically, I would say. I was perplexed by Bombay, the inequalities, the opportunities. It was something that I wanted to understand. And I used the arts and culture to kind of decode Bombay, for you can say. I created and conceived a series called Multipolis Mumbai, which basically traces the path of colonial Bombay to the Amchi Mumbai, or the maximum city of today. We looked at Bombay as a muse, as a prism, where we looked at it through different lenses. We looked at it through architecture, through literature, through film. And as time went on, and as the series built, we looked at it through more granular aspects of technology, of looking at women in theater, thespians, looking at women writers. This series still goes on. In fact, next month, I am going to present the 46th edition of this series. But, my goal was different. My goal was not to create programs. My goal was to kind of put the arts and culture out there, to democratize the arts. The arts are not just for the converted and the usual suspects who show up at everything. It's for the young, the old, the underdog, the newbies. My role and my goal was arts were for all, and to make it less elitist and put it in the hands of the people. Years went by, and the Royal Opera House was reopened after 25 years. I was honored to be named as the curator, and I used my same principles and my same vision to bring programs to our Opera House stage, from the established to the beginners, from the contemporary to the traditional. Any program that even defied categorization, I would say we're going to do it. Because what I wanted to do is give the ecosystem a platform where they could actually present their work. On the flip side, looking at the entire ecosystem from the audience perspective, the idea was to invite everybody in. The Opera House looks elitist, but it's not. We wanted people from every genre to come in and experience the arts, because the arts is a way of changing your life. And we guarantee you that everyone who entered through those doors left by learning something new. But the arts is not just, the arts and culture is not just a feel-good something to massage your soul. It is actually a viable business opportunity. A 2018 PwC report says that states that the arts and culture is one of the fastest growing industries in the world, with an average revenue of $2,250 billion. It employs about 30 million people. And another UN report actually says that, Bombay is poised to be one of the 447th megacity by 2025. And that's something serious. It says the arts and culture is going to play a major role getting it there. So what does that mean? That arts and culture is even more important today for Bombay or Mumbai to getting it to where it should be. But how do we get there? Education. Education is the cornerstone of development. and arts education has become even more imperative than it used to be. Why? Because 72% of global CEOs who've been polled say that creativity is the #1 thing they're looking for when they're hiring. In fact, a World Economic Forum report says that workplace creativity is going to be the 3rd most office-based skill set that is needed in the next 5 years. So what, all of us have interacted with the arts and culture somehow. I think that has a way of touching you, of changing your life, of making you connect with people, of taking you down, strange, uncharted paths and throwing up opportunities at you. Think about it. A young guy who ushered a Broadway show just to get a free ticket now curates an opera house in India. The arts and culture, and as you all are about to go find your career paths and find your passions, you can actually combine your vocation with your passion. You can path your own destiny, your own journey. You just have to believe in something. You have to believe in something really strongly and wholeheartedly. And for me, that was my mantra, my belief, and my goal in life was that learning never stops. Thank you.